and welcome to Immortal Behaviour this week.
Down the block, Andrew John, inside for Elba. Newcastle have won the grand final. And Manu's gone through.
He's so fast, he's a great athlete, good-looking rooster.
Here's Walker again, the man of the moment.
It's good to be the kid.
Oh, look at Andrew John, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest players of all time.
All right, welcome back to Immortal Behaviour. We've had a few weeks off.
No, it's been glorious.
Our schedules have been too jam-packed.
Yes. Newcastle.
So, Newcastle.
Been travelling to Newcastle.
Yeah, been taking up a lot of time.
Yep.
And then you choose to do Freddie and the Eighth over Immortal Behaviour.
Yeah. Freddie and the Eighth pays more.
All right, well, it has been a big week for the Knights. I'm sure you've been quite heavily involved since what happened on the weekend and all the fallout from Kalen Ponga. Now, there were some reports in the papers that Wayne Bennett had a bit of a heart-to-heart with Team Ponga a while ago and saying that they weren't getting the most out of his talents. Do you think that there's some truth in that?
No, I don't. If you have a look at the way Kalen played at Origin, I think on the back of what he's been doing at Newcastle and the way he's prepared and trained himself, it's just that at Newcastle he hasn't got the class players around him. If he went to the Dolphins, he'd have even less class players around him. I think everyone knows the Knights are in a hole at the moment, especially with having got the real class in key positions. But when Kalen's on the field, he's the best player every week, week in, week out. So I totally disagree with those comments.
There has been a lot of discussion this week just about everything that went on with the toilet cubicle drama and the fact that Kalen was out the weekend that the team was playing. Do you think if you are the captain of a team, maybe it is captains of other teams would be with the team when they're playing? It doesn't.
No, if I was coaching a team, even if I was captain and they're playing away and you're injured, whatever is happening with Kalen, I don't think he needs to go up to the team. I think it's up to the individual, and I don't see it as an issue at all.
Because do you think it would have been a bit of a different situation if it was in Newcastle? It would be more chance that he would actually be there at the game.
Yeah, if it's at Newcastle, and look, whether he's watched the game at home and then gone for a couple of drinks. Look, it doesn't look great. It's not a great look that he's out injured and the team's away and got beat and then he's out on the drink. But there was no direction from the specialist who he's been seeing with the concussions that he's not supposed to drink. I don't think there was anything said from the Knights. So from that point of view, he hasn't done nothing wrong. Look, I think the integrity unit is still looking into it, so it's hard to comment on what happened. But, it's probably just not a good look.
Whatever's gone on, put that aside, but just the fact that people are videoing other people in the toilets, just that issue in itself.
Isn't that illegal?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well...
It's a different world that we live in at the moment, isn't it?
It's not a different world. It's called a certain word I'd like to say about what sort of world we live in. Gone are the days where we look after each other. Gotcha. Paparazzi.
Anyway, Peter Parr, he's had a big couple of weeks. I think it was the start of August that he joined the Newcastle Knights, and he's been busy.
He came in with a poncho into the shitstorm.
Yeah.
It was a big poncho too.
It seems like, though, it's some, line in the sands type of moments that he's making some big calls on.
Yeah. By all accounts, at the press conference, he spoke really well. I actually didn't see it. I saw heard bits and pieces on the radio. What he brings is great experience. He brings a calmness. So when it does hit the fan, you know what? He's not pressured in to make drastic or harsh decisions quickly with pressure from outside the organisation or media pressure. He'll sit back, take a deep breath, weigh it up, and then make a decision after, as I said, a calm head. He's looked at all angles and what's happened. In that position, you're under incredible pressure when something does happen in an off-field issue that the press want to know everything. They want a result. They want people, to face the punishment. People in the community want them to publicly shame these people, get them out. I want to see them broken. But he's a cool head. He's been there for a long time in the game, done wonders up there at the Cowboys. And look, he spoke about it. He's mentored Jonathan Thurston when Jonathan Thurston first got the captaincy and turned into the sensational captain he was. So brings a calm head.
Yeah, he's
and experience.
I listened to the press conference. He spoke
Spoke
really well
yeah.
throughout the whole thing, and I think it was fair, honest, and showed good authority when it needed.
That's what you need.
All right, well, talking about leadership, in other NRL teams, does the best player, the most talented one, need to be the captain?
Not necessarily, no.
Do you think that some players, it comes down to their personality? Some players do well with that extra leadership and some players crumble under
Well,
it?
some people or some players love the responsibility, some players don't. I know. I was kicking and screaming into becoming a captain. I didn't want to become a captain.
Why?
Because I didn't want the responsibility. I didn't want it. I just wanted to do my things my own way, and I didn't want that extra pressure. You know, I was under enough pressure, especially living in the fishbowl in Newcastle. I didn't want to be, even though I suppose I was the figurehead of the club, I just didn't want to be captain. And it wasn't until I sat down with Paul Harrigan and he spoke. He pretty much spoke the whole time. I listened. And I said, righto, I'll do it. I'm good at 2 up. I'm good at tossing the coin, so I'll do it.
So for people who, who could be watching this and they've never played NRL before, what is it you speak about, the extra pressure that comes with captaincy?
Well, the extra media pressure, you sort of, you got to front the media all the time. And look, I can imagine people in the community and would sick the death of seeing me on front of the paper or talking to the news. I know I was sick to death of it. So it was this the extra responsibility of doing that, extra responsibility of, coming to Sydney, doing certain things, promotions, or, even things leading into big games. And so we came up with an idea. We had co-captains, myself and Billy Peden, and Billy took a lot of pressure off. He did a lot of the media stuff. But it can be a burden. It can weigh people down. I just didn't want the responsibility of, of cracking the whip or just, doing it. I just wanted to do my own thing and be my own person and play the way I play.
But I feel like on the field you had that.
Well, you were the that was my position.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to do with footy. All the footy it's the other stuff, the other external pressure of, having to go to all the functions and smooze people and do all the media. I just want nothing to do.
You hate talking to people that you don't know.
I hate it. Small talk, no. I'd rather
sit in the corner and just watch.
I'd rather iron t-shirts than do small talk.
Do you think it's the same in your playing days as it is now? Because I feel like
now it's worse.
Do you reckon it's worse?
Worse.
Because I feel like they spread it across the whole playing group, especially when you talk about media and fronting up.
That's worse.
You reckon it's worse? Yeah. How so?
Well, now we have Freddie the 8th, we have Immortal Behaviour, we have 6 tackles with Gus. Over the other mob, they have NRL 360s, 3 nights a week. There's always shows. They need content, and for whatever reason, the figurehead of the club or the captain of the club, if something's going right, if something's going well, I suppose they get the praise. But when things are going bad and they're questioning the culture of the place, the captain's usually the one that gets hammered. It's just everyone knows it's a soap opera. It's just a soap opera of rugby league. And now, from when I played, there's so many more outlets that need to fill content. Like the absolute rubbish I'm talking about now. Not the BS, I'm talking about the Queensland spirit. My Queensland friend. I haven't been back to Queensland since then.
When's your next game back? Because we've got a game. Are you coming up next week? Because we've got a game up next Thursday.
I was glad that the grand final didn't go up there. Anyway, everyone in Queensland, they knew where I was coming from.
I think you do have a couple of Queensland fans still.
2 or 3.
The ones, right on the border.
Yeah.
The border towns. How different were you from your first game as captain to your very last game as captain? Not different at all?
No, not different at all. I wasn't one for big speeches or anything like that. Just made sure, which I did anyway, I was trying to be one of the first to train and the last one to leave. It just, you lead by your actions and the players follow you like that.
Do you think that as a...
team meetings was just be like that, looking at the coach, let's go. I don't want to be talking.
Did you have to stand up and...
No, never.
Never?
Never. It's the old saying, talk's cheap. It's just talk.
Well, you
Talk
say
too
you don't
much
even
and
you
just-
don't
it's
even
just white
remember.
noise.
Yeah, you don't even remember what was said in half time.
I can't remember. The only half time I remember was one of the Origins with Gus. It's the only time.
What did he say in that one?
No, he was screaming at us and something went off his lip and hit someone.
Yeah. Who'd it hit?
Sean Timmins. Timmo.
That's like in class when
It
the.
was like a Seinfeld episode. We could all see this thing going across. It was like a slow.
Did anyone?
And
Did,
it landed on Timo's shoulder. And then Timo looked at God.
did anyone say
We went
anything?
on and won the game, so it was a master stroke.
Is it one of those instances where everyone's looking around, everyone's seen it, but no one wants to say?
We were all looking, and then Gus said, "How much do you want it?" And then he ran, "How much do you want it, Timo?" Timo went, "I want it bad." Good. And then we're all sitting there. And then he walks out and slams the door. When he slams the door, we're all jumping up and down and laughing and yahooing. No one Gus. It was probably deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably had it all.
I said to Tim after the game, do not wash that jumper. Do not wash it.
A big game, Thursday night footy, Panthers v Souths,
Yep.
Core Stadium. Bit of feeling in tonight's game. Take you back to round 4. Little bit of niggle between Jai Arrow and Spencer Linu.
I think this was on the back that South said they were going to target Nathan Cleary, I think. So the Bulls went in at it and started colliding heads. And was it after the game?
I think it was
Jai-
after.
Good stuff. I hope it boils over.
How good are some individual rivalries
This
on the
is the game's
field?
built on.
What's your
Rivalry,
favourite?
Chief and Spud,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
They were really good ones.
Nate Miles and Paul Gallen.
Yeah, Nate Miles and Gal. But Chief and Spud, I think you go through the history of the game and that'd be top 3. And that's what the game's built on. Individual rivalry, but club rivalry. So I'd love to see a South Sydney and Roosters grand final. Could you imagine that?
Well, we'll get to see that just before the end of the regular
Yeah.
season at the opening of Allianz Stadium.
We can't wait for the game between South and Penrith. I think South are really good things.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the Dragons' young guns. Obviously, their season's over. We saw some glimpses of some of the future stars during the season. What would your advice be to Jaden Sullivan and Tyrell Sloan?
Well, Jaden Sullivan, I haven't seen enough of him. I've seen bits and pieces when he's played NRL, and I've watched bits and pieces when he's in lower grades. He's obviously a really good talent. Any other club, he probably would have been starting halfback. He's got Ben Hunt in front of him. Ben Hunt's carried that team. And Tyrell Sloan, and once again, I've been pretty vocal over the last couple of months. I don't know why he hasn't been playing. I don't know what deficiencies they see in his game, but how do you improve that on the field, making mistakes? I just think he's got a bit of X factor, Tyrell, and he'd look good in red and blue.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Would it be, because of the lack of minutes that they've been getting, would it be smart of them as players to maybe move on to go somewhere where they're not behind,
Well,
you know?
I think it's a conversation both those young men have to have with the coach, Anthony Griffin. But for whatever reason, look, he's an experienced coach, Anthony Griffin, and for whatever reason he hasn't played these young guys. So as I said, they've got deficiencies in their game. We don't know what they are because we haven't watched them close enough, but obviously there is. Jaden Sullivan, I can't really comment too much about, but for mine, Tyrell Sloan should have been in there the last 6 weeks.
Is it a hard toss-up? Because when you're at a club and you're thinking, you know, your career's only a certain amount of years long in rugby league, that you want to be playing, but then do you have to, is it biding your time, or is it then looking at your options and going somewhere where you might get more minutes?
To a certain extent, biding your time. But if someone like Jaden Sullivan wants to play halfback, he won't do it at the Dragons for the next couple of years. I think Ben Hunt's about to re-sign, so it's probably Jaden maybe should look to go elsewhere. But Tyrell, I think he should back himself. I think he's an out-and-out NRL fullback.
All right, well, the World Cup's on at the end of the year too. A lot of excitement around this. If you were to right now pick some positions, who would be at fullback and who would be the two wingers?
Well, Teddy's fullback, and depend who you pick halfback. Look, I think Daly Cherry Evans probably deserves, after the Origin series, to be number 7 and captain, but if for whatever reason Daly Cherry Evans not there, I think Tedesco's fullback and captain. And my wings, I'd have Joseph Suwali and Selwyn Cobber, the two young guns on the wing. really exciting time for the Australian team because they haven't played for a few years. And
Yeah.
we're going to see
And it feels like there's a huge shift in the
big
fact of
shift.
who's going to be in there.
Jeremiah Nanai. He'll be in there. Payne Haas, I don't think he's played for Australia before. Maybe only a couple of games. Cobbo, Sawali. Exciting. Really exciting.
I think we're going to do a couple of these positions going forward, but one I really want to know, the hooker. Who would you have? There is a number of options.
Well, for me,
I probably just ruined it for the next week.
Games,
but
for me, in big games, test matches, Origins, it's too hard a position for a dummy half to play 80 minutes. So, best teams I ever played with was Badira swing, the yin and the yang. So, if I was doing that with Australia, without doubt, I'd start Harry Grant and bring Cook off the bench. So, Cook's speed, after half an hour, would terrorise the teams over there.
because there's a number of Appy Coruscant could also.
Is Appy committed to Fiji? Do we know? I know he's played for Fiji in the past.
Ben Hunt.
Ben Hunt, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
Ben
you look
Hunt.
at what
Well, Ben
Queensland did.
Ben Hunt would be thereabouts too. Sawali, the bigger the occasion, you could debut him in a World Cup final, and it wouldn't worry him. He's an out-and-out champion of the future. And Cobbo, he can do things that these players you just can't coach. You can't coach what he's doing.
What makes you so certain about Joseph not having the big occasion overwhelm him?
Because the bigger
it his
the
character?
occasion, the character is just so calm, and you see him, and just I only met him a couple of times. You can see just the character of the young fella and how tough he is, and the talent. Like everyone who I speak to in footy is just blown away by him, and his toughness, his athleticism. My gosh, what a player he is and going to be.
He hasn't, obviously, he hasn't played State of Origin, but he was in the camp as well, and just being around,
he'll be there next year.
100%. You look at what he's done the last
He'll
few
be
weeks.
there to 2030. What are we looking at? 35.
What will you be doing in 2035?
Pushing up daisies.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
How many years
Tedesco,
away?
Cobbo and Sawali. Now there's an exciting back three.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the World Cup. Hopefully I'll be in the island surfing and watching.
Well, you'll have to,
Coleman.
you might, because it's different hours because it's UK time, so depending what islands you're on.
Well,
You'd
3
still
or
be
4 in the morning.
there. You go, perfect timing. That's prime time on the islands.
Playing a ukulele.
We'll get some photos of that.
Oh,
that's for
yes,
sure.
yeah. No mobile phones when I go.
No.
Guaranteed.
All right. Well, that is all we have time for this week's episode of Immortal Behaviour. We will see you again very shortly. Enjoy the footy over the
Bye,
weekend.
Queensland.